this go forward anymore?
Mm-mm. He's trying to say hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hey, this is a receptacle that was covered up even like right after the house was bought, so it's one that never got changed out. And now the top one is giving issues and not working, or it's working periodically. Like when if you wiggle it, it'll work. But so anyway, just changing it out and for a fresh one. As we've said before, of course, I've already done all this, but making sure the power's out. And these ones are good. Not flashing the green. Or flashing the red, I mean, sorry. Indicating that there's no power. So we want to always make sure, first off, no power. Make sure we're safe. And then, I already took the cover off. But just the 2 screws for the receptacle.
Unfortunately, this circuit was labeled, so it's easy to find the breaker for it to turn it off.
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind. I'm glad you brought that up because that's something, if you're having to do something like this, make sure you have a permanent marker or something, just in case it's not marked, and then when you get out there you can mark it, because sometimes over time things get changed, they get wore out, or they had to move a breaker around to put in a hot tub or whatever. It's nice to have that marked. And a lot of times you think, oh, I'll just remember to do it later. And, well, if you're anything like me, you won't remember. And then you'll be going, shoot, which one was that again? So just a little piece of advice. This is, like I said, this has been in here a while. This is, which is actually kind of surprising. This is an older home. But even being the older home, it really has, it looks like 14 gauge wire running for the wires. Which I guess back then was kind of hit or miss. I would have thought as cheap as wire was back then, they would have used heavier. But at the same time, this was in the 80s, maybe even late 70s. Wasn't a whole lot of computers or anything to have to run. So as you see on the very bottom, this is an old receptacle. At the bottom, it just has a screw for the ground to go on that I just took off. And then this one has it's something that I guess was kind of common practice way back when, and now it doesn't work so much. There's going to be a slot. Once I get this out, I'll show you a little better how.
If I can film straight. I keep looking
Yeah, it's
out
hard.
at the hot tub.
Being old, it's not wanting to give. But also, there should not normally, today, there wouldn't be 3 white wires and 3 black wires going into one receptacle.
So it's a good thing we're doing this video for the older one. Right?
Yes.
Because you said we already did one of these, and I'm like, yeah, but let's do another. There's some fresh ones.
So this one, hopefully there's some extra wire out in the garage. Or I think there's some in the shed. But we'll get this out. And then I'm going to show you how I'm getting these out it's just such tight quarters, it's hard to show you and really be clear. So this is the back of it. You can see the round holes. That's where the wires were pushed in. And so that's why I say back when these were, then they would put more than one wire. As you can see on the new ones, there's only a place for 4 wires, but they only allow like the skinniest wire to get in there. I think it's like 14, I think, will fit in here. And in reality, for a receptacle, it should be a higher gauge wire. Should be like a 12, even a 10. 12 is good enough. So, and it wouldn't fit in here anyway. You know, I saw once an electrician that I've seen do a lot of stuff, and he said once, he said, you know, he goes, a lot of people stick the wires in these holes just like they did with these. And he said, you know, there's a reason they put these on the side. These hold them a lot better. They don't arc as much. You get a really good connection, and it's just safer all the way around, even for your house. So I highly recommend ignore these holes. Use the screws on the side and get them good and tight. I mean, almost where maybe you're even thinking, gosh, am I going to break this thing? If you get them good and tight and they get in there, you're never going to have an arcing. You're not going to have those problems. I should say never, but, you know, it's going to last a very long time. And I will say, even these, they last a long time. But let's face it, when they built these, I guarantee you, they built them a lot better than these. Because back then, these were, you know, made with pride. Things were just made better. I mean, it's the exact same brand. But, yeah, just made back when you can even just feel the difference in how they're made. So, that's that. We're going to have to take a break. Well, I guess we don't even have to do that. We can just pause. So, basically, kind of, you can do wire connectors, everything. I've started using these. I do like, I think it's Wago. Wago is a brand name that I've really found I really like. These ones I got online. They seem to work good too. They just, Wago seems to have a little better spring, but they definitely hold. I mean, I've yanked on them and pulled on them. And so basically what we're going to have to do is, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and then I'll show you afterwards it done. Because we got to get another wire to run out of these because of the way they did it. But basically what we're going to do is I'm going to open up one of these at a time. I'm going to stick a wire in. I'm going to close it. I'm going to open the next one. One to stay closed. I'm going to put this one in. Unfortunately, I don't have any 4-ways, so we're using a 5, and I only needed 4, but that's okay. Already got to try and make room for everything else. So now I have all of these together. Remember, those were all going into the back of the thing, the back of the receptacle. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to run one more wire out of here. And so ultimately, I'm only going to have 2 wires hooked to here because they're all going to be joined together here and shoved into the back of the box. And same thing with the white. I think it was open. Same thing with these. I'm just,
So if there was 6 spots on there, could you have put the white on one half? And
nope. You can only do the same color wire in these.
Okay.
So, because these are all hooked together, that's why they all work together in here, and why the next one will.
But I thought
Yep.
I'd
No,
ask
no,
just
it's a
in
good,
case there was
no,
a
that very
divider
good
in
question.
the middle or something.
Yeah, very good question. Yeah, no, that was actually an exceptionally good question. And that. You pull on those, and I mean, they really lock in good. So now we're just going to have to go find the wire, and then we'll be back. And we can put it in and we're then we'll be very close to finishing up. And
You can tell the folks what you're doing.
I didn't know if it was on. Howdy, everybody. We found some wire.
And
So-
where'd you get those from?
This was some scrap wire.
Where'd you get it from?
I
I mean, what's that down there?
think it originally came from Home Depot.
What's that down there? You pulled it out?
Yeah, it was just some Romex. Some more Romex around. There's a piece that came out of something, you know, I was working on. It looked like good wires, so I kept it.
And you just
And
pulled
all
it
I
right
want-
out?
Yep, yeah, just cut the Romex to this length. So I cut that whole thing, then just pulled the wires out. Sometimes the Romex can be really stubborn and you got to actually cut it to get the wire out
That's what I thought.
because there is paper and stuff in it. But a lot of times you can pull it out. If you have something like this with, you know, a good tip, needle nose pliers will work, and just get it and pull them out. And you know, this is going to be overkill. You'll see when I get done. I'll be cutting some more of this off. But I like, you know, they're, you know, like kind of like they always say a board stretcher or a hose stretcher, and we all know there's no such thing.
That was from Fireproof.
Yes, the hose stretcher. And actually, there I guess there is such thing.
You're the hose stretcher.
That's right. So I would rather cut, you know, too much wire, because I don't know how far I'm gonna have to push these back, so that'll leave how much is gonna stick out. So I would rather do this and then cut it off than have to pull it all back out. Oops. And this is what you want to really make sure that you don't do, is get busy and then stick the wrong.
I was gonna ask you, why is the white wire going with the black?
Yes. I'm not colorblind, I just had to look twice. And so just put it in, flip it down, pull it. Then we gotta try and. The fun part is you know, you gotta get this in there, but you still gotta be able to get the receptacle and everything in there. And so the fun part is getting all,
And the ground wire has to stick out.
yes, and the ground wire has to stay out here. So that can be fun. Now I will take something like this with a good rubber head on it and push. And I think we're in deep enough.
Looks like it. Good job.
So, and that is the nice part. Now we're down to just 2 wires going to this, which is plenty. I mean, I do, like I said, I do wish that this was heavier gauge wire. But, you know, it is what it is. I mean, to replace all the wire is a hassle that just wouldn't even be, you know, it would be a pain. So most things you kind of just go, well, we're just kind of stuck with that. But you know, if you find it, all of a sudden you do have something that you want to run off of this plugin, or say you want to run, and I'm sure we'll do a video. I was actually going to do it here, but at some point we'll do a video bouncing off of this to put in an outside plug-in. And But if you were going to say put something out there that you want to run, that you don't want to flip the breaker and stuff, you can always, the easiest thing is to run a wire out of the panel, which generally is in the garage, and then up through the attic and over and down the wall and snake it down into here. But yeah, I think we will eventually take off of here and do an outside, and we'll try and get that video out too, just to show a quick, easy way to make an outside plug.
If not this one down the line.
Yes. A little excessive. Another good reason to have a little extra. So now we're just making our little curly cues to go on the screws. There's a lot of different ways that people do it, but I've covered this in other ones before, but I'll just cover it again in case you're new and haven't seen any of these before. Gold is always going to be your black wire, so your hot wire is always going to go to the gold. On the other side you got silver, and that's always going to be your neutral, your white. So as long as those two are there, then everything should run perfectly. And you should have, most things will run even if it's backwards, but it's just a good idea to keep it all. And
you can go on the top or bottom.
Yep, yeah. The only time that's a thing, and geez, I haven't done one in so many years because people just don't do it anymore. But and a lot of the younger generations watching this video probably will not even know what I'm talking about. But you can run an extra wire to a plug-in, and you can take off this little tab right here in the center on both sides. So there's one here and there's one here. Well, that individuates these two switches, which means I can bring my hot and I can make the bottom one where it's always hot. It's always going to have power. But I can run another wire to this one and have a switch on the wall so that I can actually, if say, plug a lamp into this one and I can control it with the switch on the wall. And that's just by individuating these two and bringing an extra wire in. So
that's what I wondered, if those boxes did that you had, these things, if you could individuate it.
Oh yeah.
In the middle.
Yeah. No. Perfect. So yep.
Right,
so that's just a little
cool.
Draw out some information, but yeah, sometimes it's kind of nice to have, and if you have a shed or something, and you just want to put in a regular crazy lamp. So again, the important part here, as you can see, the loop goes around. It's all inside where this brass piece is. And this is a Klein tool. It does the square drive. And you'll notice in these, they have square drives in the center. These get the best grip. Now, you don't have to do a Klein. You can do any square drive. And because they just get in there and they grab hold where you can actually really get a good bite and you don't strip out the screw. And you can turn it and you can see it just closed my loop. So as I turned it, it actually sucked that right around and pulled the loop over. So I know I have a very good contact there. And then I don't know, maybe it's because I'm OCD. Most people don't, but I always close the ones that I don't use. Because sometimes they're sticking out so far that it's just like it touches the edges, or it makes, where another wire could touch it. And I just find it's easier for me. And then we have the ground. Ground doesn't necessarily have to be, all the way around. It's just important that it's on there and tight. But again, as I go, with being able to get the leverage I can with this screwdriver, it should, suck it right around just like the last one. So now it's all in there nice and tight. And then we can just bend our wires. Now something else that I actually had happen to me, it took me a little bit to figure out what happened. Your ground wire that's on the side here. You really want to make sure that that wire goes all the way back. One time I pushed it in and it ended up touching the neutral. So when I turned the power on, of course, it would just trip the breaker. And I'm thinking, okay, this is it's not a hard thing to do. And finally I tore it apart, put it back together, and it worked. And then I came back because I was so interested. I pulled it apart again and realized I finally saw the little black on the brass wire. So it told me, oh, okay, so it was touching. I've never had that happen before. So it's just something to be aware of when you're pushing it back, to kind of make sure you push down with your finger so that it doesn't raise up to here. And then just
And the lazy man screwdriver.
Yeah, if you haven't seen these they have them at Ace, and if I remember, it was only like $29 or something. It was very, very reasonable, and they last a long time on a charge. And then, of course, if it's not charged, it still locks, so you can still use it. And it's just the Type-C charger to charge it, just like with a phone.
Oh, that's where it's level.
Yep, there it is. And between the lines there. It's not, I could go over a little bit more, but I'm not going to get that fussy. But yes, and that's something else I don't think really people usually do, but I like it. And also, this one I can already tell a little. Get that thing straightened out. Just so the cover will fit a little better. And in reality, that is about it. Like I said, put the cover on. I have a cover. It's not the matching. It's not a white cover because I didn't realize this one hadn't been replaced.
So we'll just wait to put it on.
So
we're gonna go trip the circuit.
Yep. We can. Yep.
Turn it on.
Yep.
All right. So
here's the one that wasn't working. So with this one had been working fine. The top one wasn't.
And so this is the fridge that's been out for a while. And it sounds like it's on. And what it was doing is all of a sudden it went off one time and I would move the cord. So I thought there was a short in the cord. And I was like, oh no, but that could be replaced too. So we were going to do that if it needed to be. But yeah, we looked at the plug and we were like, yeah, it seems like it's that. And what did you do to test it to make sure that that was what it was? That you
actually, I just plugged the refrigerator back in so I could see what it was doing. I checked the cord, everything in the back, make sure there was nothing in the back of the refrigerator looked burnt. And then I just plugged it into the to the old receptacle, and I wiggled it, and sure enough, it would come on and turn off and come on and turn off. So it told me that obviously it had a bad receptacle. So
there wasn't any black or anything.
Yeah,
on the
nothing
cord,
burnt.
so.
Just wore
And
out.
it's a
That was
newer
an
fridge,
old plug.
so.
Yep, and that old plug was just worn out.
I'm excited now the fridge is working. So, as you see, we are replacing flooring. So, we're in the midst of that, and we should have done a video in here, but we replaced some of the flooring because we had a dog that decided to mark in a few areas several different times, and we were going to do plywood, which is how thick, Jim?
3/4.
3/4 plywood. And then we decided to go with OSB. Huh? OSB. And it's also 3/4. But Jim said that always the plywood and the OSB, even though it's 3/4, is still slightly off. But it won't make a difference when you lay the flooring that we have. So we're going to be putting the snap together, what do they call it?
Laminate flooring.
Laminate flooring. And it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make it uneven.
The pad and stuff on the bottom.
Yeah, because there is a pad on the flooring that we're doing. So that's that. We won't make this about the flooring right now, but that's what we've been doing. So lots of projects going on, and then here's an upside down light.
Good at this thing, and I wasn't paying attention. My bad. Anyway, this was a project from before, but I just finally picked up a paddle bit to change out.
And how do you know it's upside down?
Because the light's on, and yeah, it was switched the wrong way. Whoa!
Yeah.
See, there's where you want to be careful. That means you should
Alright.
turn the power off all the time when you're using it.
But he didn't. So that means that the ground touched the neutral?
You know, the hot touched the other box, the other switch.
We're at which one? So the black side touched over here on this?
Yeah, there's only a black side on these ones, and you can see back in there's a little black mark.
Oh yeah, right there. So it touched
Where it
that
touched.
right there. That was a good.
Yeah, I did that on purpose just to show you
You
guys.
know, this is what happens when you work graveyard and you're trying to be up for the day to do things and then getting ready to go to work again.
Yeah, so
Sleep is important, and so is balance. All right, so I'll turn it off unless you have anything
right.
to add,
I
because
just
that
wanna
was a
say-
good example and good job. That was
Yes.
really good keeping that for them to let them
Yeah.
know what happens.
yeah, I just want to thank you guys for watching. I hope that just at least a little bit of the stuff that I put out there is helpful for you guys. I really want it to be. That's the whole reason I do it. I love sharing knowledge. I love learning, but I love other people learning from me, and I love teaching. And so, yeah, I just thank you for watching. And
At work, he's been teaching some people to do mudding and the skim coat.
yeah, it's
And-
good. Very well.
The reason why he's doing this video is because I get the phone out and I say, no, you are going to show the people because it's helpful. And then
Yeah.
he really does enjoy doing it.
Yes, I hope it does help you.
And he's a good teacher.
And you're always welcome to send me any, questions or anything. If there's something that maybe I can help with, or I've been doing this stuff for a very long time, so if there's even maybe some questions I can answer, or maybe I can do a video on something that you need help with. I'd at least
that's a
be
good
willing
idea.
to try. So you're welcome to just send me a message saying, hey, I'm going to try this. Is there anything you can help me with on it? And
Bat houses are coming soon.
yes. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.